Hey guys, YouTuber 100 here. Alright, and now continuing with my reviews for the Land Before Time movies. Now, here I am with a review for The Land Before Time 5, The Mysterious Island. So, out of all the Land Before Time sequels, I think this one may probably be my favorite one. I mean, I'm not saying that this is the best one, because I can't really say that yet, since I really haven't watched them all yet. But, yeah, out of the sequels, well, I'd say this one may be probably my favorite one. I mean, yeah, I really did enjoy watching this one a lot growing up. And, yeah, this one, even today, I still do like it. And, yeah, this movie, this sequel, this is probably one of the least, child-oriented ones of the sequels, because yeah, a lot of the other sequels really are kind of more child oriented, but this one really isn't as much. Because, I mean, yeah, this one does kind of have a bit of a dark premise to it. And, and yeah, the plot for this movie is really good. And yeah, it even does show a little some scenes that maybe a little bit darker for kids to take. I mean, the plot for this movie is basically the Great Valley ends up getting devoured, and it basically just turns into a wasteland. And so the inhabitants then just are forced to just leave the Great Valley and find a new place to stay that has food, but they don't have any luck. And so yeah, this movie is kind of hinting that the herds could starve to death or something, because yeah, that's how this is turning out. Because yeah, I mean, it just shows several days are passing, and the dinosaurs really don't have any luck in finding any new food or a place to stay. And yeah, and this kind of Journey Through the Mist. That kind of did have a similar feel to the first film. This one also does in a sort of a different way than Journey Through the Mist did. And this one, once again, the kids end up getting kind of separated from their families, and they're pretty much stranded and have to figure out a way to go, hey, to get back to their families. Because yeah, in this film, of course, Littlefoot, Sarah, Ducky, Petrie, and Spike, they end up sort of they wander off to try to find food for their families, in order to stay together. And then they end up finding the island to go to, but then they end up getting stranded on the island and just end up being stuck there, and so they can't go back to their families, and so they have to figure out a way back. And yeah, it is kind of a similar feel to the first, but not completely the same. Yeah, and of course, there are a couple of points in this movie where we actually do see blood, so yeah, kind of a little more gory in the fights. Yeah, and of course, this film also is known for having the return of Chomper in the movie, which is really great. Yeah, it was great to see Chomper make a reappearance in the movie, though I really wish that they wouldn't have given it away on the cover for the movie. If you click this video, you saw the thumbnail, that it shows that Chomper is on the cover for the movie, so I just really wish they wouldn't have spoiled Chomper returning like that. I really wish they wouldn't have shown him on the cover and just kind of kept it a surprise for him to reappear in this movie. I really would have liked it better that way. But yeah, it's really kind of nitpicking. It's not really a really huge deal, but I just really wish that they would have done it differently. Yeah. And in this film, this is when the characters started to get recast for different voice actors. Littlefoot, Sarah, and Ducky are all recast, and there are new voice actors for them. And also in this film, Littlefoot's grandma is also voiced by a different actress, but yeah, the new voice actress, she sounds exactly like the previous one, so yeah, I really didn't tell any difference, and I don't think a lot of other people really were able to do either. So yeah, it's a really good choice for a replacement voice actor for Littlefoot's grandma. Yeah, and I just really have always enjoyed this film, really. Yeah, also, this film, this is when, the films were starting to, use some CGI at points in the film, but yeah, in this film, it's not really used that much. CGI is really only used in the opening of the film, so yeah, it's really not, overused in this film as it would, get later on in the films, I've heard. So, yeah, it's really not that big of a deal in this, yeah. And, yeah, the songs in this film are also pretty good. I mean, I put two songs in this film on my top 12 Land Before Time songs, yeah. This song, this film, like, has Big Water and Friends for Dinner, and also it has the song Always There. And I am gonna be haunted that I didn't put Always There on that list for like the rest of my life. I made the biggest mistake ever not putting Always There on my top 12 Land Before Time songs. How could I not do that? Gosh, I'm heartless. Like, what's the matter with me? Why didn't I put that on there? Gosh, there's something seriously wrong with me. But, yeah, I'm sorry for that. Please forgive me. Yeah, but, yeah, still, yeah, this is still overall a pretty good sequel, and yeah, like I said before, this is probably my favorite one. I would give this like probably 3 stars out of 4. I mean, it's just like a really entertaining plot and a pretty good film overall. So, yeah, let me just get right into it. Alright, so the movie opens kind of like in space in the galaxy. Like, there's a CG, it's like CGI used, and it like just shows like there's a couple of moon rocks coming towards us. Yeah, and this is eventually like zooms in outside the Earth, and then we have the usual opening narration from that. And then in the Great Valley, it's shown that Littlefoot and the others are kind of like fighting over who gets the first tree star because there was only one in the tree, and Littlefoot was saying that it was his turn, but Sarah was trying to like say the rules are different since there's only one. And so then they were like chasing after the tree star, but then like another like Mr. Clubtail ended up catching the tree star instead. And then Littlefoot's grandpa arrived, and he was telling Littlefoot and the others that there's plenty of food in the Green Valley for everyone, and there were plenty of tree stars to go around. And so then Littlefoot's grandpa pretty much just dropped a whole tree's worth of tree stars down for the kids to eat. Yeah, but then it shows there's a swarm of locusts or leaf gobblers, as they refer to them, that then came and just devoured all of the green food in the Great Valley. Yeah, and the design for the leaf gobblers, even today, it still creeps me out. Like, I think they're actually even scarier than actual locusts. Like, gosh. And I really don't blame Littlefoot for, like, freaking out when one landed on his nose. I probably would have done the same thing. Like, they were just so. Yeah, they were, like, really scary looking. Yeah, but yeah, they pretty much, like, ate everything in the Great Valley. And so then the Great Valley ended up becoming a wasteland. And so then the dinosaurs then like decided that they pretty much had no choice but to leave the Great Valley. And yeah, this is like something I guess like is kind of like a flaw with this film is it does kind of like have some continuity issues because yeah, once they leave the Great Valley, it's shown like basic I guess that Great Wall that they like fixed in the Great Valley adventure is just like gone. Because yeah, they can now go outside the Great Valley and stuff, and yeah, it's just kind of yeah, sort of continuity issues here. And yeah, this film is also like acknowledging that the first that they did actually live outside of the Great Valley before coming there, which they don't really seem to really act as that happened in like the other sequels, since they refer to the outside land as the mysterious beyond. Like, well, why is it so mysterious? Yeah, they don't actually refer to it as the mysterious beyond in this movie. They just call it like the outside land. So, yeah. But anyway, yeah, and then yeah, they all agreed that they would leave the Great Valley together, and so then the next morning they did that, and yeah, they were trying to find like a new land to live on until the Great Valley would would like regrow all the green food. But yeah, they had no luck in finding anywhere, and several days passed, and they just were starting to get hungrier and thirstier and discouraged. And when they came to like a rotting corpse of a dead Saurolophus, or duckbill as they call it, Littlefoot's grandpa was saying that they should try another direction since like he came to the conclusion that there wasn't any food in the direction the dead duckbill was coming from, but Sarah's father was still saying that they should continue to go in a straight line. And yeah, it just went into like a disagreement and argument between Littlefoot's grandpa and Sarah's father, and it eventually led to a fight between Littlefoot and Sarah. And so then they finally just decided that each herd should split up and go for themselves. just, yeah, they should go their separate ways. Yep. Yeah, Littlefoot and his friends, of course, didn't want that to happen, and so then they had a plan to sneak off to try to find green food for themselves. Yeah, and so then during that night they ended up like wandering away to find green food, and then all the families saw the next morning that they were missing, and so then Littlefoot and his friends went off, and then they were like leaving a trail for their families to follow. Hello. And then, yeah, they were just off to find some green food for themselves. And then they were eventually, like, were able to smell out some water. And then when they came to it, they then, like, approached the ocean, which they refer to as just big water. And then as they went for a drink, they were just, like, of course, didn't like it because this was obviously salt water, which tasted horrible. But then, like, in the distance, Spike ended up finding some green food on a distant island. But then, yeah, then they were heading towards the island on a land path of rocks. So, yeah, kind of like, why was there, like, a convenient land path leading to that island? Yeah, but anyway. And as they were walking down that path to the island, then an earthquake ended up starting, and for some reason the sky ended up like turning red during the earthquake. Why? Yeah, but anyway, yeah, and then it also ended up like causing a tsunami, which was, and then like a huge tidal wave was coming towards the kids, and so they ended up just running to approach the island, and then yeah, they ended up making it just in time before the tsunami could hit them. And then they started to eat the food, but then they then discovered that the land path leading to the island was now gone, and so they ended up, of course, like the folks wouldn't be able to find them on the island. Yeah. And then it showed like the parents then like discovered the trail, but then like you could see like it stopped heading to the water, and so then they just came to the conclusion that maybe since like the ground was hot, the kids then were just like stepped into the shallow water to continue on looking since it was cooler, and so they continued to look for the kids. Yeah, yeah. And then like Littlefoot was trying to see if Petrie could fly over to tell the grown-ups where they are, or Ducky could swim, but both Petrie and Ducky were too scared to do it because they were just scared of what could be in the big water, which led to the song Big Water, and then like basically all five of them were too scared to go over by themselves. So they then decided to then just try to figure out a way to get back to the mainland, and so they ended up like using a log as kind of like a boat to row themselves back to the mainland. But then they eventually ended up getting chased by a giant shark, which they referred to as just a swimming sharp tooth. And then, like, the shark ended up, like, bumping their log a few times, which caused it to spin around, and, yeah, it, like, ended up, like, sending them back in the direction of the island. But then, yeah, the shark was about to get them, but then, like, they bumped into a rock, which shattered the log and just sent them flying back onto the island. Yeah. And then that night, like, the kids were, like, afraid to go to sleep, and they just couldn't go to sleep without their families, and then they sang the song Always There. Ducky started singing about how her mom would always comfort her whenever she got scared, and Sarah singing about her dad doing the same thing. But then, like, of course, like, this is mostly known for Littlefoot's solo, singing about his mom, which could make a grown man cry. And then, like, it eventually, like, all of them, like, comfort down, and then, yeah, they ended up going to sleep. And then the next morning, they woke up and they found a shadow of a sharp tooth near them, and then yeah, they were all then running away from the sharp tooth, and then they ended up eventually getting cornered by some high cliffs, and then they were all just like holding on to each other. And they're just trying to hide in fear. But then it was revealed that the sharp tooth that was chasing them, or following them rather, was actually Chomper. And now Chomper was able to speak. And then, yeah, everyone was, like, happy to see Chomper again, but Sarah was, like, kind of, like, sort of skeptical about it. Since Chomper was now older, she felt that Chomper may end up actually, like, turning on them and actually eating them, maybe. Yeah, but yeah, Chomper was, like, really, like, still, like, glad to see them again, and Chomper could now talk. Yeah, and then, yeah, Chomper was showing them around, and then eventually, they then, heard Chomper's parents coming, and yeah, Chomper then, went to go get his parents, and then, eventually, then, Chomper then, could talk with his parents, but yeah, it was, in talking through roars rather than actual words. Yeah. Yeah, and then at one point, Chomper's dad could actually, smell Littlefoot and the others nearby. And so then, after Chomper's parents left, he then just, led Littlefoot and the others to a hideout where they couldn't be smelled out. And then it ended up, being a patch of, really smelly flowers. And no one would be able to smell them there. And yeah, and then, Chomper went out to go get Littlefoot and his friends some food. And then at one point, Chomper just said he loves having friends for dinner. And so then, Littlefoot and the. Well, not Littlefoot, but Sarah, Ducky, Peachy, and Spike kind of took it literally. And then it led to, a Friends for Dinner song. Yeah. And then later on, Littlefoot was just telling Chomper how they got to the island. And Chomper was wanting them to stay in the island, and he could take care of them like they took care of him. But yeah, Littlefoot was telling him that they really couldn't get used to living there. And at one point, yes, Littlefoot was offering Chomper some of the food. Sarah just, yelled at Littlefoot to watch out, because she, of course, thought Chomper could bite Littlefoot. And that just ended up, hurting Chomper's feelings. And Chomper just ended up, leaving very sad. And then, yeah, Littlefoot was just, upset at Sarah for saying that. And yeah, Ducky, Petrie, and Spike were then kind of saying that when Chomper gets older, he may think that Littlefoot and the others are things to be eaten. Eat in. I'm talking like Ducky now. Yeah, and Spike actually did say uh-huh at one point. So yeah, Spike talked again. Yeah, and Littlefoot just told him they hurt his feelings, but then yeah, Sarah just said Chomper doesn't have feelings since he is a sharp tooth. But yeah, and then Littlefoot went to apologize to Chomper for that, but yeah, Chomper just told Littlefoot that he shouldn't be sorry since they are their own kind, and they really can't change that. Yeah, and actually, at one point, Chomper's mom was, just over Littlefoot roaring, and, it was just showing that Littlefoot discovered that sharp teeth do love each other, their own kind, especially, Chomper's parents loving him. Yeah. And then, yeah, as Littlefoot went back to the hideout, then they ended up, being spotted by another sharp-tooth, Giganotosaurus, is that how it's said? Well, apparently it's another sharp-tooth who lives on the island, and he ended up, chasing Littlefoot and the others. There's out of the hideout, and they ended up, getting cornered back on the cliff towards the big water, yeah. And then, eventually, Chomper and his parents then ended up coming to Littlefoot and his friend's aid. And, yeah. And then, Chomper's dad eventually, knocked the Giganotosaurus off the cliff, but he pulled Chomper down with him. And, yeah, so Chomper ended up falling in the water, too. And then Littlefoot jumped into the water to protect Chomper. And, yeah, they ended up staying in still water, but yeah, the Giganotosaurus ended up being swept away in the current. Yeah, yeah. But then Sarah and the others thought that the shark was approaching Littlefoot and Chomper, but it just ended up being an Elasmosaurus named Elsie, who brought Littlefoot and Chomper back up onto the island shore. And then yeah, it then showed then that Chomper's parents promised not to harm Littlefoot and the others. And then, yeah, Sarah then, could then realize that even though like Sharp Teeth are different, they still do love Chomper's parents still do love him. And once like Littlefoot ends up bringing up their families, Elsie then offers them to take them back to the mainland across the sea, and so then Littlefoot and the others said goodbye to Chomper and his parents, and then Elsie brought the kids back home to the mainland where they reunite with their families. And then it then showed them that the families ended up finding like a new place with green food for them to stay until the Great Valley becomes green again. And then yeah, it was then shown that the families would all stay together. Yeah. And then as the film then was like starting to cut to credits, it then just ended by showing them the Great Valley growing green again. And I don't know. I mean, I felt that that was kind of like a bit of a cop out here. I mean, of course, like this was like a pretty like a while after what we just saw. Like this was probably like at least a year after. I mean, couldn't they have like they really need to end it with the Great Valley becoming green again? I mean, couldn't they have held it off? Like, maybe like they could have had them still staying at the place they found until like the next movie, and then they end up going back to the Great Valley. But instead, they just chose to have this movie end with the Great Valley becoming green again, and then the dinosaurs all coming back to it. So yeah, I thought they could have done it better, but I mean, it's whatever. And that's how the movie ended. So yeah, like I said, 3 stars out of 4. Yeah, I mean, yeah, overall, not saying it's the best sequel, but yeah, out of all the sequels, I'd say it probably is my favorite. Yeah, so yeah, it's definitely like worth a watch if you are interested. So yeah, so pretty good movie overall. All right, so yeah, that is from my review of Land Before Time 5: The Mysterious Island. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. So, yep, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.